Hey guys, welcome to Future Creatures DTF. I am one half of your host, Jordana, and I am here joined by my other half, Sam.
Hello.
Hello, my spooky friend. How are you?
I'm good. I binge watched Seinfeld last night when I was drunk. So, uh,
I was just gonna say that's totally Seinfeld, and that's the
mhm,
one thing I know from Seinfeld.
yeah. How are you doing?
I'm I'm well. I say that as I like joke.
I'm well.
I know. I just told Sam like 2 minutes before we started recording that I actually am not sick. Holla fucking Lulia. And then I choke on some spit. So there's
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So enjoy this episode because 7 days from now you will once again have a cold. Uh,
Yes, it's going to be strep, cold, who knows with me. But other than that, what have you been up to?
um, not. I mean, not a ton. Like nothing out of the ordinary. I've been watching some stuff that I think the show, specifically for this episode, um, uh so at the top of the show, I've got to tell you, I want to hear the story. You ever heard of those Reddit posts where they're like, am I the asshole or whatever?
Yes. And
Okay.
there's an actual show called Am I the Asshole? And it's on I think it's on TikTok, so it must be like an actual
Show of
uh,
somewhat.
yeah, like a podcast or something. So yes.
So I've been telling everybody the story because I personally find it hilarious, and the people's reaction has ranged from like, dude, you're an asshole to like, no, you're good. And I'm like, I gotta save it for the show.
Yeah.
So I will surmise it as quick as I can. This happened this week. I got home from work and Deanna's like, "You better watch your dog." And I'm like, "What happened to my dog, Ripley?"
Yeah.
And apparently we had left like a tray of chicken that we had like cooked like the night before, but like
Mhm.
it wasn't like bones, it was just like the breading, but it
Yeah.
had tinfoil on it. Well, one of the big dogs got and pulled the tinfoil off, and Ripley is the little one, but he's also the most aggressive. So he
Mhm.
apparently got the bulk of it and he ate it.
Oh no.
So I was freaking out. You know how I am with the dog. I am
Yes. It's
obsessed
a
with this
baby.
dog. Yes, I'm
Yes.
obsessed with this dog. So I immediately call the vet, and the vet's like, honestly, foil is pretty common for dogs to not like it's part of their diet, but because it's what we wrap food in.
Yeah.
Oftentimes dogs do eat it, and they're like, honestly, it kind of shreds apart like paper. You know, it is very flimsy. They're like, just keep an eye on them. They're like, but if you are freaking out, you can, they're like, we recommend getting him a can of 100% pure pumpkin,
Oh.
and you feed them that because it like
Mhm.
helps ease their digestion, pushes things out, and just
Nice.
helps. So I jump in the car, I drive like 70 miles an hour to the to the grocery store. I literally run to the aisle, get the pumpkin, come run out. I do the self checkout, and then
Yep.
I'm at the exit, and there is two doors,
Okay.
exit doors,
Yep.
one of which is out of commission. It's got a big sign that says, not working or whatever.
Yeah.
The other one, there is like a 60-year-old man standing, and he's got his cart. Like he's literally in the doorway. Like half of his cart is in, half of his cart is out,
Yep.
and he's talking on the phone.
Oh God.
And I'm sitting there, and all of this probably took place in about 15 seconds. But I'm there, the man's here, I'm here, and then there's a family behind me. I wait about 15 seconds, and then I try to go out one of the entrance doors, but it physically won't open.
Yep.
And like parental instinct or whatever just took over me because I am not this type of person. But I literally just yelled, I'm like, "You gotta move!" And I grabbed his cart and I just pushed it back and I shoved it to the side. And then I literally sprinted to the car and drove home on like an adrenaline rush. And I was like the whole way home, I hadn't, it hadn't sunk in what I'd really done yet. And I'm just like, fuck that motherfucker, fucking old fuck.
I'm crying.
So that's what I'm up to these days. I'm shoving old men's carts.
I can see you totally just being like, yeah. And then like in the car being like,
And I could feel the family behind me like judging me, like as I did it.
okay, but like it's your dog. And I would be the same goddamn way. I'd be like, get out of the way. I would flip. That's so inconsiderate. Even if there was no emergency, that is
Exactly.
so inconsiderate to plop your ass in an exit and just fucking talk.
Yes, and that's exactly like where I'm at. Like I in a non-emergency situation, that would have infuriated me. Like I hate when
Right.
people break just like the basics of society that we all have agreed to live upon.
Right.
I probably would have given it a minute, and then I probably would have just maybe said something at that point. I probably
Like,
would not have
excuse me.
screamed it or physically moved his cart, but like
Good.
that's what I'm doing these days. So that's what I'm up to. What are you
I
up to
love it.
these days?
Well, we had a similar, like, just, I guess it's like a reality check because
Oh, real quick
yes.
update. The dog has not. He never once didn't take a shit. He's totally fine.
I was gonna say, I'm so glad because I know that Ripley is chewing his bone and he is such a good boy, and I'm glad that everything is good to go
Yeah.
because like chicken and like chicken by itself with like bones and tinfoil, it's just you panic because they can't say anything. You know what I mean? Like having an animal is one of the hardest things because if something like that happens, you don't know.
Yeah, I don't
There's,
know. I
you
will
know,
say for like 2 days, he like was taking like dumps that looked like the most fucked up Christmas ornaments I've ever seen. But like after that, he was fine.
good. Out of his system, and he's probably just like, I probably will do that again. I
Oh, he
just,
would do it in a heartbeat. A heartbeat.
yeah, I know. But like, you gotta love dogs. They're so great.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to give that update because I don't want people to be like listening and be like, "Well, what the fuck happened to the dog?"
What's
Like,
wrong with Ripley? Is he fine? No,
yeah.
I totally get it. And that I hope that asshole's listening because next time move and don't be inconsiderate. But speaking of inconsiderate, I'm like a pretty polite person. Like if someone opens the door in public or when we're out, thank you. You know what I mean? And kind of would expect, even like when people let you go, a wave, like thank you. It's
Yeah.
the common decency thing to do. So Greg and I made an exciting trip to New York City, even though there was like uh not a state of emergency because of the flooding that was going on.
Yeah, that was crazy. The videos I saw.
I couldn't like so I went to see Queen Herbie.
Mhm.
And of course that I mean, and I'm not but like the day that we're leaving, because I was oblivious to it, people are sending me stuff like, oh, this is Brooklyn. And I'm like, well, looks like I'm not going to the fucking show. And I'm messaging people, I hope you're all right. Like, are you doing okay? And it was just like, it's really bad. But the hotel room was already paid for. Like we had no refunds. So we're like, well, just we'll make a night of it. We'll go and hang out in the hotel and get some food and have drinks and what have you. So there's me, and I'm all depressed thinking that I wasn't going to make it. And I know that sounds extremely selfish because it was a state of emergency and people were, up to their ankles or knees with water. But then miraculously around the time that we were getting ready to leave, people are like, it's not bad. Just take the bridge. Don't, or take, I didn't realize so many bridges were in New York City, but like take this bridge to this bridge.
Yeah.
Don't do the tunnel. And when we got there, it was like everything was okay. But anyway, the point of the story was when we were leaving the hotel, this woman, we opened the door for her and she just and walked past and I was like, "Oh, you're welcome." Like you don't need to be a bitch because I could have just let you try to open the door with your suitcase and your luggage. Like,
Isn't that the stereotype of New Yorkers though, that they're all rude?
well, it was Jersey, so I guess it kind of applies
Ah.
as well.
I think that's the stereotype is like for people who live in New York City is that they're rude. Like
Yep.
my city, Chicago, we're all supposed to be like loud, drunk assholes. Not that far off.
Yeah, but like I don't know. I'm just the type of person that like just be nice that someone did something for you. I don't know. That's how my grandparents raised me, but it just the way her face was, she's just like, "Meh," and I'm like, bitch.
I 100% get that because I tend to be like in a social setting with strangers. Like I'm always like beyond polite. Like
Yes.
I mean, I at like even like at work, I'm constantly like I'm trained my thoughts to be like when I'm speaking on the phone to like clients or whatever, I'm always like sir, 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 sir. And I've had people be like, stop calling me sir. Like I don't want you to call
Yeah.
me sir. And I'm like, I'm sorry, sir. Like, like
It's embedded. Some people have actually called me rude for it, like calling people sir and ma'am. They're
yeah.
like, well, that could be taken offensively. I'm like, my grandmother, God rest her soul, taught me that was like the polite thing to do when you're speaking to your elders is call them sir and ma'am. Like, I mean, I know nothing other than that being polite, but some people just they don't
People
like
are
it.
people are nuts though, and then they'll get
Are.
offended by anything. I had a customer one time. I like had their profile pulled up. I won't say what I do, but I was over the phone with a customer, and I was like, "Oh, I was like, and I don't normally do this, but I was just like, oh, and your name is Barbara, whatever." And she's like, "Yep." And then like at the end of the call, I was like, "Okay," and blah 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 blah. I'm like, and I'm like, "Barbara, you have a great day." And she stops and she's like, do you she's like, "Do you normally address people that you don't know by their first names?" And I like it took everything in me to be like, "Well, right now I want to call you a lot of fucking names, you dumb bitch." But like,
Yes.
like I'm like, just like, people are weird. You can go either way. You can be too formal. You can be informal. It's just
And even if you're thinking that, like, I would think that. I wouldn't
yeah,
even say it because, like, how uncomfortable for the other person who's just trying to do their job. Like,
yeah,
get a grip and like take it out on your husband. Don't take it out on some stranger. You know?
yes.
I've worked retail majority of my life, and I've worked in the medical field for like the remainder, and they're both very fun places to work.
Working with the general public in any capacity, I think in any job is just a nightmare, which is why I'm thrilled to not be in that field exactly anymore. I don't
Yes.
talk to customers anymore. I just fix their shit. Anyway,
Oh, and sometimes it's like, is that better? I mean, it is better, but like sometimes it's like
eh,
I'm not the one who broke it. I'm just fixing it.
yeah, well, as long as I don't got to talk to him, I don't care.
Yes. But I love that we just had this like vent session of like assholes in the world.
Yeah, I think we just had to get it off our chests. We always talk about we always want to have like a little bit of time at the beginning where we don't talk about movies or TV or whatever, and we just talk about our lives. And I think this is the first time we successfully did it.
I know. And I just want to add too that I just can like say to everyone listening that I could literally die a happy bitch because I did see Queen Herbie and I cried and I booty
You were pretty damn close to the stage. From the photos you showed me.
it was a really like awesome place in Brooklyn. And Greg is such a trooper because that's not really his scene, like the type of,
Music.
music and stuff. But he, afterwards said that she was because she was like spot on with her singing. She rapped the Look at Me Now verse that she was famous for, like kind of catapulted her, from YouTube to where she is now. And she did that with no flaws. And he was like, that was pretty insane. So it was just like such a good vibe. The crowd was really fun. And I never thought that I would be able to say that, but I got to see Queen Herbie and I
Well,
cried.
well, that's awesome, and I'm glad you did, and I'm glad you got to have. I mean, you looked like you were like fourth row, so like, yeah,
It's amazing. And I wasn't sick. And I did get sick afterwards. So like that adds to
that's
the
kind of a
amazing.
miracle, to be honest.
Yes, because every time I do something, I come back from a trip, I'm like, well, I'm sick.
Oh yeah, and even then, you're in New York, you're at a concert, there's a literal flood happening, like.
I know, like literal, like the back streets of like the industrial area of Brooklyn. Like we got a parking spot right up front too, which was crazy because I didn't think we'd be able to park. We literally were right in front of the venue. We got done, we walked right out, went to our car, and left. And I say that as if it was easy, but driving in New York City, I'm glad it was Greg driving and not me because I probably wouldn't be here. I'd probably be still stuck on the bridge.
No, I literally refuse to drive in the city. Luckily, because I'm about 30 minutes outside the city, we have a
Yep.
train that just takes us right into the heart of the city. Like anywhere you want to actually be in Chicago, the train
Yep.
takes you there. So I'm like, fuck driving, just get on the train.
Yes. And I feel like, it would have been nice to be able to take the subway, but the way that the city is now, and from what people have told me, they're like, do not ride the subway at the time that you would be riding because that you will die. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I saw like videos of like, because I didn't even know what was happening. I happened to hear it on another podcast where one of the hosts is from New Jersey, and
Yep.
he was talking about it. So then I like Googled it, and like I saw the video of like one of the tunnels, or I don't know if there is the tunnel or a tunnel. I don't know.
I
Never
know.
been there, but there was just like water. Like I mean, it looked like a fucking like a water park ride. Just just
Yes.
like I was like, holy shit.
It was from what I saw to like when we got there, it literally just looked like after it rains and it's drying.
So
Like not
you caught the tail end of it, basically.
yeah, but like where did all that water go? Like I just night and day, and I hate saying it like that, but it's just I feel for the people that had to pump their basements because we had friends that were going to come out and see us. They're like, "Oh, sorry, we're pumping our basement because it's flooded." I'm like,
Yeah.
that sucks. But and then I just saw on the news there was a couple in Brooklyn and they were sitting on a bench and some dude went up and stabbed the guy and killed him. Like
Oh,
just I like being at the city for the shorter time that we did. It was fun, but I couldn't.
I could never live directly in the city. I enjoy having a big city near me that I can access, and pretty much any major show or concert or whatever, like it always comes to there. But
Mhm.
I like having that buffer zone that I'm like where I'm still at suburban,
Yeah,
but I'm close enough that if I want to do cool shit, I can go do cool shit.
same. Wow, we're not like not a big city because it took us almost 6 hours. Well, like 4.5, whatever, to get to like the city. But I appreciate city life because we do have like a smaller city near us,
Yeah.
so it's nice. It's just I'm happy in my suburban home with my little quiet neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, I rarely leave the house besides walking the dog and working. So I mean, my days of doing that kind of shit might be over. I don't know.
I know. I felt like it was fun and exhilarating to do it, but like I felt the drain of it like Sunday because we got
No,
back Saturday and we hung out with friends and did the projector movie night out back, and then Sunday I was like, okay, I'm literally dead. Like I'm
just wiped out.
wiped
Yeah,
out.
I
But
get that. Well,
yeah.
Jordan, have you been watching anything cool or fun lately that you wanna talk about? What have you been keeping yourself entertained with these days, this past
Man,
week?
now that you asked me that, I feel like I watched The Collector again to
I
get
watched it for the first time last night.
yes, yes, and I want to know. So, what did you think?
I thought it was good. Like it's fun, but like I'm not the like a Saw fanatic. I do have all of them because I bought the box set, but like
Yeah.
one and two I think are really fucking good, and then the rest
Mhm.
are all kind of like fine but forgettable movies. I
Yes.
still can see why this movie didn't get because isn't the Collector it was written as a Saw spec script or some shit like that.
So, from because I went on Michael Myers live last night, and from what I was told, it was supposed to be the prequel,
Okay.
I guess, to Saw, and because the people that did a few of the Saw movies, I don't think all of them did The Collector, and
Okay.
then they did the
Shin.
collection, and then they were
Yeah.
supposed to have the collected, and that never happened.
So I can see why this one didn't get the big release and everything because just a couple things. Like it is in a world of Saw, it is still less realistic where I'm like, okay, this motherfucker did all this shit with nobody knowing, you know,
I
like
know.
you're telling he's because if you haven't seen it, it's basically a guy breaks into a house and his whole thing is he creates little traps in the house, and then the family, like unbeknownst to them, is like walking into traps in their own home. Um except and then the part that I guess I really didn't like about it compared to Saw, like in Saw, you I mean obviously are forced into a thing,
Right.
but you are the one who gets to make the choice whether you live or die, essentially. And this, he's literally also in the house with you, running around with a fucking shotgun. And I'm like, it kind of takes the fun out of it.
It does.
There's also no morality play in it. These are just normal people. While in Saw, there's a morality play that they're all fucked up people.
Yeah.
And then and I spoiler alert for a movie, like it totally thinks it's doing like the Saw ending. Saw always has a bleak ending at the end. Like there's always like you think something happened and then the music, then something else happens, and then
Yes,
this
exactly
one
that.
has that moment, except none of the payoff. And at the end of a Saw movie, all of your questions are answered. You know who did it, why they did it, and what happened. This, not a single goddamn question was answered. So I'm like, it has the bleakness, but none of the it doesn't give me the, I'm like, I don't have, I literally don't know what happened in the whole movie. Sorry.
No, but that's okay. So it kind of gives Terrifier 2 vibes, because you get all of this, right?
Yep.
And then at the end, you think you're gonna have an explanation, and then you don't. I mean, we got a half-assed one in it where the guy's like, he collects people, and if he doesn't want you, he kills you. Okay, but like, for what reason? Like, what did I do?
Also, who did he collect in this movie? Besides, obviously, the main character, he collects him at the end of the movie, but the rest of everything, what do you mean if he doesn't, he collects you? They're all just walking into traps and dying anyway. So I don't really understand at all what's happening. And then I have seen clips and pieces of the collection before. Yeah. So I was drinking last night and I was like, fuck it, I'll watch Collection 2. And then Collector's Boogaloo, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And I put it on and I was like, okay, I've definitely seen this scene before with the giant spinny whatever.
In the club, yes.
And then I was like, oh, wow. I'm like, you guys, like, you can't not compare this to Saw, because it and Saw 2 are like the same fucking premise. Oh, exactly. now we're gonna do a big house, and there's gonna be lots of people inside of the game or whatever. And I'm like, it's the same goddamn thing.
And I think they were trying to like do separate and have it be like more hyper focused on maybe like the killer, maybe the collector, and not so much of like who it is. But like, if you're gonna take that angle, explain, like, I don't know if you heard anything I said last night, but give me a backstory on why he's doing it. Did he get picked on for collecting insects when he was little, and then he decided to kill? Like, give me substance, and maybe that would have made the movie a little bit more entertaining.
It's hard to have a masked killer movie where you never find out who the mask. Like, imagine if you're watching Scream and you never take off the mask.
It would be, it would lose that
you would be furious at the end of the movie. You'd be like,
but then at the same time, I preach, like, I like when you don't really have a backstory. I liked Halloween because you didn't know what the fuck Michael was up to. I liked Terrifier because you didn't know why he was there, but he was there. That's like a personal preference, but like,
and I agree, but those are also human beings. Like, and right. I don't know. Like, this is like, not that the collector's not. Well, he might be a fucking alien for all I know. But
his eyes. Did you see how his eyes were like that weird?
Do you see who he is in the second one? I'm guessing not.
No.
You
don't.
See, that to me it's like, I don't need to have everything explained, like you said, like with Michael Myers and whatnot, but I have to have some of it. I need a little bit of an inkling. And but boom, he's a psycho, he killed his sisters, or he killed a babysitter, and the blah 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 blah. Good, I'm good. That's enough. Good to go. Now he's a crazy person.
Exactly. Escape the mental asylum. Okay, cool. Like, we have that, but like, I don't know. And I'm not dogging it, because I really think that The Collector, the first one, is an underrated slasher, minus like thinking about the logistics of it. I think it was a fun watch. I liked a lot of the kills. I liked a lot of the shots of the cat and mouse. I thought that was cool.
I super enjoyed it. Like, I'm not, I sounds like I'm shitting on it. Like, I had fun, but like, because I was watching it based on your guy, because I was watching you and Michael Myers. Shout out to Michael Myers. He's oftentimes in the lives. But like, I'm hearing your guys' back and forth on it, and like the section, because I listened for probably about, I don't know, half hour. A lot of the talk was bouncing between comparisons to Saw, so that put that in my brain. And then, full disclosure, just to throw it out here, this is how much like I was into. About 20 minutes into the collection, I was like, fuck this. So I watched Saw.
Yeah.
So I watched Saw, the first Saw, and the whole time I was like, this is a fucking great movie. Like, this is a classic movie right here.
Yes, and you're just like, you appreciate it because it gives you Saw vibes, but then you go to the collection, and I I watched the collection. I didn't think it was great at all, like even compared to the first one, because it was all over the place, like all over the place. But
It did in the parts that I already watched. I was already like less focused. Like I was less interested in what was going on. Like not always does making something bigger equal better. Now,
yes,
in some situations that does work. Like again, I think Saw 2 is it's neck and neck with 1, and that worked in that scenario. But like I don't really know. Also, I saw a meme today that just I don't know if it's old or not, but it like cracked me up because I'm like, how fucking true is this? And it was I think I shared it, and it was like when they cast you for a movie that you're supposed to lay on the floor for 2 weeks and you accidentally turn into a horror icon, and it's fucking John Kramer from Saw. And I'm like, it's absolutely true. That dude, he didn't have I think he might have had like a few lines, but as on the tape recorders.
yep.
And other than that, he lied on the floor. They clearly did not probably ever picture that he was going to be like one of the most iconic horror figures in the world.
Not at all. And I would, even being like him, I would have been like never expecting that.
Oh, he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just like I'm basically a body double for the whole movie, and then we're gonna make 10 of these. Okay,
Yeah.
like
I'm done. I'll sign on for that. But
yeah.
speaking of meme, the one, oh my god, what did you put last night? What, it was Kermit. Last one there is a rotten, and then he just throws himself.
Kermit. I had to share that. A, I love the Muppets, and B, I sometimes sometimes it be like that, like we said.
When you responded with that though, because like, some people will see something and they'll just put LOL. I literally laughed so hard at that. And then when you're like, it do be like that. Like,
I mean, some days you're like,
it do be like that. But I don't even like. I've been watching weird stuff, and the only one that I will say that's important to, just because then I want to know what you've been watching, is the one on Hulu. No One Will Save You.
How was that?
Okay, again, everyone's giving it 4 out of 5, 4.5 out of 5. I was like a solid 3.5, like going to a 4, and then the ending happened, and I was like, what the fuck? And then it ruined it. And I am the odd one out. I didn't care for it because the ending, whatever.
I watched the first like 10 minutes of it, and then I was like, I'm too tired, and at that point I was drunk, and I was like, I can't pay attention to this. I do like the actress in that. I don't know her name, but she's from 17, and Caitlin Denver.
Yep.
But the one thing I heard, because I was like watching it, and again, this is after watching fucking the collection or collector, part of collection, all of Saw, a little sauced at this point. But I'm like, nobody's talking. And then I Googled it. They said that it's 41 minutes into the movie is the first word spoken. And then that's when I immediately went, fuck you.
And even 41 into it, I think it was just like a word, or it was something minimal, but there's no dialogue in this movie.
I hate movies like that.
And don't get me wrong, though, there was parts with what happened that I was like, whoa. And like, I enjoyed parts, but then I got to a point where I'm like, I have to hear something. Like, someone has to say something. Like, there has to be some sort of discussion, fucking talk. And then it went crazy train like the last 30 minutes, and it just there was no coming back from it. Nothing was redeeming.
I don't think I can watch I don't think I can put myself through. I can't stand movies when there's not talking in them. Like, I mean, obviously this is why we do a podcast. We like talking. I'm interested in dialogue, but I also don't buy it. I'm sorry if the fucked up thing is happening around me when I'm working on it, like my computer by myself. I'm like, you piece of shit, you're telling me that my life is on the line, and I'm not like, oh fuck. Like, come on, are you out of your mind? Like,
yeah, exactly. It's like not believable, and like the aliens are more believable at that point.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, it makes me think of like, I still genuinely think like ruined what could have been a amazing movie, but that like knockoff Five Nights at Freddy's, Willy's Wonderland with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah,
I was so pumped for that, and then I'm like, and then he doesn't say a word the whole movie, and I'm like, you cast the wildest man in Hollywood with the biggest personality, and you were like, don't talk. And I was like, I feel like whoever was the producer on that movie should have went to the director and been like, you're a fucking idiot.
But the director probably thought he was like the most genius, creative person to not give Nicolas Cage dialogue.
Well, no, I'm saying it right now into the camera. If you ever see this, you're a fucking idiot, whoever you are, because you had a 10 out of 10 right there. And by making him not talk, it's like a 4 out of 10. You're like, it's barely passable.
And it's a waste. Like, not to be rude to Nicolas Cage, but you could have casted someone else to deliver that performance and not had Nicolas Cage waste. I mean, granted, that
100%.
probably brought, the people in, but you should have done something else. You should have had someone else.
And also just don't make that movie. Like, I don't like, yeah. It should have been fun. Whatever. That's a side note.
No, but so other than The Collector, those ones that you've been watching, anything else?
So I've only been watching 2 other things of note, one of which I know you're going to want to talk about. One of which is a movie that I cannot believe I never brought up during my comfort movies. Mm-hmm. And that's Wet Hot American Summer.
I love that movie.
I absolutely love that movie. I watched it and the prequel series, which I had watched when it first came out in like 2015. I'm going to watch the sequel series, which I've never seen. But I was watching them and like, I just was laughing so hard. And I love the movie, and the prequel series is really good. And I went to work the next day and I was talking to one of my coworkers who's a couple years older than me. And I was like, I'm like, dude, I was watching it, just having such a fun time. And I was like, I'm like, why are movies not like this anymore? And he bluntly just goes, not even a thought. He goes, because movies used to be funny.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's very blunt, but he is accurate.
We've discussed this, and you know what? Not to sidebar, but just we watched Strays, and that is a movie that is actually funny in a crude way that we want it to be. And I'm glad that it was made because it was funny.
Yeah, I want to see that, but I've heard a lot of comedians have like said that they're like happy that movie got made because it got made with comedians voiced the dogs. They, it wasn't, granted Jamie Foxx, but Jamie Foxx also got his start on fucking In Living Color, so he is a comedian at heart. Like but all the other dogs and actors are played by comedy people. It's not like they cast fucking Channing Tatum or, Jared Leto or some other fucking asshole.
Yes.
I've heard a lot of comedians are like, that's the type of movie they want to see get made because it actually cast funny people to be in it. And then it was funny from what I've heard. Who would have thought? Cast funny people and you get a funny movie.
I know, as if it's like this crazy concept. Like, just go back to 2000 and what? 2000, go to 2004 and just kind of like do up until 2014-ish. Just take notes from that and just redo it.
100%. One of the things that we were talking about, the same coworker we were like, dude, like, you remember when they used to they would build comedy megastars? Like they built Jim Carrey. Like, I mean, honestly, he built himself, but I mean, Hollywood got behind him and was like, we're going to make you a thing. They built him. They built Mike Myers, even for a time they built crazy fucking Rob Schneider. Like,
but I'm like,
they don't do that anymore, but he was funny. Now he's a crazy person, but, but like they don't do that anymore. I'm like, the last crop that I remember was like that 5 to 10 year period where they pumped out some Seth Rogen vehicles and that whole crew. Yes. But that's kind of gone. I mean, those guys, I mean, yes, I know they just made that Dumb Money or whatever, but that's not even close to the type of movie they were making 10 years ago.
Yeah, the one with Paul Dano.
Yeah.
Yes.
About the GameStop stock.
Yes, I did see that, and I was like, oh, Jesus. But like, they've taken the fun comedians and they've either like molded them into Marvel heroes like Paul Rudd, like just talking about Wet Hot American Summer. Like he is funny. I love Paul Rudd, but I feel like now he's taken so seriously because he's Ant-Man.
Yeah, or he doesn't get to do the funny, crazy movies.
Yes, like put him, like he was even in friggin' Tim and Eric, and he was Tane. He was uh like that, like the little clips of him like watching himself nude. Like it's just so ridiculous, but that's what I want.
Yeah, it just we've done episodes on it, so I don't want to go too long on it, but like it brought me back. Like I loved it. Like the prequel series was so fun and funny. The idea that they were like 45 playing 16-year-olds was
I love
great.
it.
And I'm excited to watch the sequel series, which I've heard is not as good, but all right. But here's the other thing, and I think this will be a great bridge into our actual topic, because our topic today is going to be
I wore these.
spookies.
Look at, I wear these today, but I'm like, I have headphones, so what's the point? I wear my little ghost earrings.
This was your pick. You picked the paranormal. You titled it Paranormal. Is what the episode's going to be.
Yes.
So the other day, and I watched all of this in one day. It was a day off. Me and Deanna both had it. We were just not feeling it. It was a crappy day out. She threw it on. It was not my choice, because I honestly made fun of it for the first 2 full fucking episodes. I was like, this show sucks. And then by the end of it, I'm like, this show's amazing. And that was Murder House, American Horror Story Season 1.
Yes. And it's so weird that you just said that, because they just had the anniversary post. And I'm like, I want to go back and start from 1 and watch Murder House, because Murder House is such a good season.
Yes, I don't know if I'm going to continue with the series, because we immediately then tried to watch Asylum, and like and I don't know, maybe it's just the same. It's the rhythm. I'm not familiar with the series, but the first 2 episodes, which I'd seen episode 1 before,
Okay.
I was making fun of this show like unbelievable, because the writing on particularly in the first episode, is fucking horrendous.
Yes.
And also the choices that are made sometimes are like insanity. And like, I just couldn't get over the fact that in the first 2 episodes, I'm like, dude, I think this dude's dick is haunted, because everybody's trying to put it in him. Like, I mean, everybody.
The dude from Maroon 5, right?
No, I'm talking about in season 1, Dylan McDermott.
Oh, okay.
Dylan McDermott like can't not get people to try and touch his dick in that show. Like everybody, from ghosts, living people, men, women, they're all like, as soon as they see him, they're like, you want to go?
You're the man. I know. And like, to me, like, I love him in the series, but
He's great.
He is. But like, at first, I'm like, if this is all it's going to be, like, I don't want to watch smut. Like, I don't really, but then it just unravels.
And that's, it gets so good. Like, and that's what at first, I feel like the first episode or 2, the writer or director or whatever, or showrunner, was just like excited that they were like, we're on FX. So like every episode, like they said the word shit like 5 or 6 times, which I was like, okay. And then like just the overly sexual stuff. Like, I mean, granted, there's a lot of sex stuff in the show, but I mean, like literally him jacking off and crying in front of the window, which I was like, totally normal thing to do. Everybody jacks off in front of the window, standing up. Totally normal.
It's an everyday thing. I see my neighbor do it all the time. Like, come on.
But I by episode 3, I was in, and I fucking loved it. I loved the concept of like, you die in the soil, you know, all that shit. I thought it was fucking phenomenal. There are some rules that make zero fucking sense that bother me. Like, why does one ghost age and none of the others do?
Okay, and that's a great question, because it's like, what I thought was, when you die, that's how you stay. Like, that's how you are.
That's the way it seems.
Why are people aging? Why are people getting older? Because usually when you're dead, it's like, that's where you leave off, is the age that you died.
But some are, and so the maid ages, obviously, and then she seems to have a magic power that she can make herself look 2 different ways.
In whatever situation benefits her.
And nobody else has that, because at the end of the show, why can't Tate then just make himself look like another fucking person and be like, hey, I didn't rape your mom? Like,
I know.
It just doesn't make there are some plot holes. Also, I am not 100% certain on this, but because I've only watched the show once, but I swear to God, there's a scene where she is outside of her school smoking a cigarette, and Tate is out there talking to her, but then they like an episode or 2 later is when they drop the whole only on Halloween can you leave the house. And then I was like, but I'm not gonna harp on it too much, but there were some plot holes.
I vaguely remember that, but I do remember the whole like you can only leave on Halloween because they revisit Murder House in like other seasons, which to me weren't good at all. And I think they just kind of benefited off of having the Murder House
Because people
people.
probably came back to watch that then.
Yes, I was stoked because Murder House is amazing, but I strongly suggest you check out the second season because and you have to give it the first I don't even want to I don't know if it's like the first episode because I think it gets right into it, but the second season is as equally intense and it's more like oh god, I don't even know how to say it without ruining it, but I think you would like it. They
And I might continue because I did watch like half the first episode. Like I saw like Adam Levine get his arm torn off, and I was like, "That's cool."
yeah, exactly, because fuck him.
Yeah, I was like, "Yeah, you deserve that for the Super Bowl." But like, I don't know. I will see. I My guess is with this type of show,
Mhm.
you have to sort of let yourself get hooked. If you need to give it that 2 episode buffer zone before you
Yep.
can really decide, because otherwise I'm just comparing it to the Murder House, which I thought was phenomenal. But
Yeah.
I do see that from like what I look at lists, most people say that I believe Murder House or Asylum are like the 2 best seasons.
I would like if you
Oh,
let's say
and someone said Coven. I think Coven won in like an award, which is crazy because I did see one episode of that was horrendous.
I know, and that's the Misty Day one where she thinks that she's Stevie Nicks.
Yes, that's
Yes.
the one I
So,
saw.
but just minus that out of there because it's just I feel like it's a lot of the first couple seasons they do musical things like in Freak Show. What's her name does um like she sings Lana Del Rey and she's sick because she's in the circus. So it's just
Mm.
like these episodes that are solely based on music where the actors are performing it, which is totally strange and totally weird to me. But I feel like it's like a theme with American Horror Story up until like Freak Show, and then it kind of well, Lady Gaga was in Hotel, but I love 1 2 Hotel, which
Hotel
I think is
sounded the most interesting because I've also heard that Hotel is like closest storyline wise to Murder House is what I was reading.
yes, and it's really gory and it's like really like intense because of a lot of the things that happen. But Asylum is just so good because you think it's going one way. You literally think it's going one way, and then there's shit that happens, and you're like, "What?" And I'm not even exaggerating. Like my mind was blown. And then there was like an episode that made me feel so uncomfortable and like sketched out my own house. I don't know. Like I love Asylum. Asylum is so good.
Maybe I'll continue to give it a try. It just Murder House set the bar pretty high
Yeah.
for a show that I didn't give a shit about, and then I was like, I'm in. Like, but I had also held off on telling you that because this is I would literally watch it all in one day. That's how much I got going on when I'm not pushing old men around. Uh,
Hey, I'm not verbally assaulting old men. I
yeah.
love that though that you enjoyed it because it's up there for my one of my favorite shows.
Yes, I think it's pretty good. And a big fan of the show overall. I mean, honestly, we probably could have done a whole episode on it because I have so many thoughts and questions and shit on it. But
Let's do that at some point. Let's like if you even if you don't go further and watch them, like let's talk Murder House because I would love to rewatch it and then we can discuss.
okay, I'm down for that. Also, why did he have the skeleton makeup on in one scene and then he didn't in the other scene? Whatever, just questions. Just
Yeah.
continuity questions. I have questions about.
Ryan Murphy, you need to answer these goddamn questions. And then you could just see that it's totally gone downhill because they have Kim Kardashian on the most recent season.
Yeah, I saw. And also, I will be honest, it looks too clean now, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Like
Yes.
this is a thing that I truthfully believe. Like, I think in certain movies, it's a style like the hyper stylized, like crystal clear, HD, 4K, everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes it looks better, but I think most things look better in like maybe standard HD. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know how to explain this. Like, the best way I can put it is like, okay, so I'm like a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
I genuinely think it looked visually it looked better in the 90s because it was shot like on film or just standard HD. Now it's
Yeah.
in like ultra 4K where I can like see their fucking hairs on their faces, and it misses it's too clean looking. And when I
It's
saw
gray.
when I saw the clips of the Kim Kardashian one, I was like, I'm like, it doesn't look gritty, and it's a horror show. It should be gritty.
Yes, and like I heard that her acting is like despicable, and I,
I've seen
I
her
hate.
act in a movie, and it was fucking horrendous.
It's like I hate being that person because I'm such a Kardashian hater. I can't stand anything that they stand for. I don't understand the. I don't understand it, and
I
I'm
don't
usually
either.
not that type of person to like yuck somebody's yum, but I will not watch it because of her. I mean,
I,
also too because it kind of American Horror Story fell off the rails like at season fucking like 7 or 8 or whatever, but it just sucks because there's some other seasons that are actually decent that I enjoyed, but overall, you like you said, Murder House sets this standard, and I don't think you could duplicate it. It's like one of those one in a million. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, I mean, honestly, that was one where I'm like, I kind of was like, dude, I wish there was just like a season 2 of this, like
Yes.
like, Tate goes crazy, ghost killer, I don't know, something like that, like,
I
but
love Tate.
whatever.
I love Tate.
I did not. I kind of felt him to be a psychotic monster.
Yes, and I know that sounds horrible to say, but just something about Evan Peters
Because
and
he's all the women love Evan Peters. He's like the Jenna Ortega of men.
uh,
He is. He's the one that all like every girl who's like into like spooky stuff or like they're always like an Evan Peters fan, and I feel like he's the male version of Jenna Ortega.
okay, you are speaking facts on that, but he's not my favorite AS or AHS person. Dandy from Freak Show.
I I don't I'm not allowed to watch Freak Show, I was told. Because Deanna said that she knows what the clown looks like, and she's like, I will not watch that show. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna make it that far anyway. That's a couple seasons in. So
That Twisty is fucking terrifying, Sam. Like he puts Art the clown to shame, and that season's one of the most goriest seasons because of him, and I love it. But Dandy is like equally as evil, and he looks very good. So
well, all right then. Did also and then keep it in the horror family.
yes,
I also like that my girl Vera Farminga's sister is in it
yes,
as she what was her name?
Violet.
Violet. Yeah, she played Violet, which I was like the whole time I was like the first like episode or two when I was making fun of it, I'm like, you look really familiar.
And then you're like,
And
oh shit.
yeah, and I'm like, oh, okay, you are like a mini Vera. So yeah.
I think she's great, and she's in Up Until Coven, and she gives exceptional performances in every season. I love her too. She's
Yep, she's
amazing.
good.
And Sarah Paulson. Last.
Honestly, the cast in general was just really good. Everybody was cast very well. There's not like one character that I'm like, oftentimes on a show, you're like, there's usually like one or two characters where you're like, nah, they kind of not right. But no, I think
Mhm.
everybody did their part really well.
Yes, it's perfection. But we could go like we seriously need to do an episode because I could talk all.
Maybe I'll watch Asylum and then we'll do an episode on Asylum.
Yes, please, because I love Asylum. It's so much horror. It's perfect. Okay, but anyway, so off from American Horror Story into the paranormal realm of horror, which is a pretty like broad. You know what I mean? Like it could be a haunted house. It could be a. Would you consider a possession to be paranormal, or would that just be possession?
So I had these same questions. So obviously that's where it gets very broad. Now I will say I limited myself to ghosts and haunted houses.
Yes.
However, I think some possession movies, yes, but
I know.
some no. Like I don't know why, but in my guts, I'm like Exorcist, yes, Evil Dead, no, and like I don't know why.
I feel like Evil Dead is more like oh god. I know. And this is where there's like those fine lines of like what we consider to be what. Like Evil Dead would be considered Would it be
zombie slasher.
zombie possession?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I put it more in like the monster, just like general monster category.
Yeah, and the thing I didn't even consider Evil Dead to be on the list, but there were some that I'm "Ugh," like there's mild possession. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't know if that would fall into it. So I just had my backup, but I have like 7 picks.
Well,
So
I say go with whatever you want because there's one that I was on the cusp of adding, and I'm like, I just now decided. I'm like, fuck it, it's enough of one, and I'm going with it.
yeah,
Which we'll do it later, but yeah, I don't know. It is. I mean, paranormal. I mean, if you Google like, because I did to like, I'm like, is there any I'm forgetting? You
yeah.
know, I mean, there's a wide net that you could cast here. I could start naming movies, but I don't want to pick any off your list. But
Well, there now that I look down, there is one that is like when you watch it, it is possession. I mean, it's like clearly what transpires is possession, but it's when I looked under paranormal, it came up. So I'm like, okay, that justifies it. So it's going
so,
on my list.
and that's why I think possession movies are paranormal in that regard. It just depends on how they're presented. Like, I mean,
Yes.
I think if it's presented maybe more as like a true horror story than it is like, say, like, again, using Evil Dead 1 through what all of them, which is presented more like a splatter gore fest.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why, but that makes sense in my head, and I think that's good.
It makes sense to me, and I think that like if anyone disagrees, that they can just put it in the comment section, and then we can have that discussion. But
I
I
thought
just
you were
feel
gonna say put it in your butt.
yeah, you can suck it.
Just take that and shove it up your butt.
Oh my god, real quick, speaking of butt,
Speaking of butt, okay.
speaking of butt, John from Dewey Pod Monster sent me a trailer of a movie called Butt Boy, and it's a movie about a guy that kidnaps people by sucking his butt.
This is the
It, it
this
is
is the
real.
this is a new movie, an older movie.
It's new. I have to send you the trailer, but
I
he's
was
like,
gonna say, please after this, send me that trailer because I need to check that out. I feel like that's a. Is it a Japanese movie?
no, it's like an awesome looking B film. And I was like, I want to talk about like just, how do I bring it up? And then when you said shove it in your butt, I'm like, hey, I can
Well,
do it that way.
I want to check it out. I'm
Yeah, I'll send
shocked
it to
that
you.
it's not a Japanese film because they do crazy movie. Like, everyone's seen, I think, the clip of like the girl who farts people to death or whatever. But whatever.
Yeah. Yes, but no, it's not. And I plan on watching it this weekend, and I'm gonna drink and I'm gonna partake in a little other recreational um fun
You're gonna be in a
thing.
good mood.
Yes, so I cannot wait to watch it. But anyways, let's dive into our list because I feel like we're gonna have some fun things to talk about.
Well, before we do that, can we talk about the genre as a whole?
Yes, please.
Because what are your thoughts on the paranormal genre as a whole? Like, is it like, where would it be in your level of interest?
I love a good paranormal. Like it's one of those movies where I know, or it's a subgenre where I know it's just a movie, but it gives you that sense of like being a kid again, where you're like, oh shit, could this happen out of a movie, and you start hearing sounds in your house and you're just kind of like geeking yourself out. I love paranormal. I love hauntings. I love possessions. I like quirky ones. I like dark ones. It's one of my favorite subgenres.
Okay, so and okay, I'm actually glad because we might be a little different here.
Oh.
I Now there are ones that I love. The ones on this
Mhm.
list I love. But as a whole, like on average, like a paranormal spooky movie, like a haunted house. Here's what I like. I think here's why I both like them and dislike them on whole.
Mhm.
Now there's classics and there's great ones, but
Yes.
there's a billion of them because they are cheap to
Yes.
make
Yep.
and they're easy to make and they oftentimes make money or at least profitable. So the thing about it is why I like them is that there's something comforting is that I know I could go on any streaming service. It doesn't matter which fucking one. right now, and I could find one that I've never seen before, and I could put it on, and at the minimum, it's going to give me what I expect. Jump scares, maybe eerie atmosphere, spooky, whatever. I like having that comfort and knowing that I can get that, but I oftentimes feel that they are cash grabs that aren't truly all that great. But that being said, there are some that I think are phenomenal, but I do find that there's so fucking many of them, and a lot of them are pretty basic.
I love that you brought that up because that is true. That's why, like, when we discussed doing this one, I'm like, there's so many, but like I picked the ones that to me stood out that actually had like an effect on me, like, oh shit, I think this is good. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And like kind of sat with me because there's a ton that I've seen that I'm like, okay, I've seen this type of found footage style with this like spirit that's summoned. You know what I mean? Like we've seen it done how many times? How many times can you do it? How many times are you going to recreate the jump scare? The same shit. Like you said, it's a cash grab. But when you do it right, it's gold. You know what I mean? Like when it hits you the right way, you're just like, yes.
Yeah, and even the ones that are cash grabs aren't necessarily bad. Like I still get, like I know what, like if I jump into something, I know what I'm usually getting into, and there is like something somewhat comforting about that. Like just especially if you're kind of like, I don't really feel like being super engaged. I kind of just want something on.
Yeah.
You can always there's no shortage of spooky haunted house movies that you can find, and a haunted house it's one of the horror classics for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's another reason why I love it so much is because I think that's an easy gateway into horror. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's very particular specific subgenres like torture porn. You know what I mean? What I can never say it. What's the Italian style?
Giallo? I can't say it either,
Yes,
but
Giallo or whatever.
I don't
Giallo.
yeah.
The G word. The G word. And there's
Fulci.
hold you. But there's like the paranormal where at any age you could introduce someone to it. And that's another thing that I kind of enjoy because if you don't really want to scare the shit out of someone, you can show them one. But if you really want to scare the shit out of them, you can show them
the other. Well, think of it this way: most kids' movies that are also scary movies, or at least in like that horror early genre, they tend to go with the paranormal side because I think that it's easier. Like you don't have to make it as you can still make it fun. Like most Disney movies, oftentimes like for Halloween, they're telling ghost stories and stuff like that. And Are You Afraid of the Dark and like stuff like that for kids. Like I think that the paranormal genre offers a much bigger scale that you can kind of slide the dial from easy to intense and find your entry point with. So I think it is a great entry point for new fans and kids specifically.
And I think it's perfect that we do this during the spooky season because this is the time that I like to watch these movies because you know me, I watch horror 24/7, 365. Exactly. So it's like this isn't like, oh, I'm going to start watching more horror movies. I'm just going to keep living my life. But I like paranormal around this time because it gets me in the mood for Halloween.
Well, 100%. 100%. I'm absolutely sure that's why Deanna threw on American Horror Story the other day. So
I love that she did that. Please tell her, like, thank you for me because I'm so happy that you guys watched it.
I will let her know that.
Yes.
Okay, I think this is your idea for this episode, and I spent a lot of time giving my thoughts on a 13-year-old television show. So if you'd like, can you start off with give me and also is yours ordered or is this just a non? Because for me, there's one movie that instantly boom number one, and then everything else just kind of is there.
Yes, well, for me, I was like, I had my number one, and then I'm like, God damn it, because I told you what I was doing, and then that kind of popped in, and then I was like, but here's the so I have like a lot of honorable mentions, but I have like a solid top three.
So we're gonna do our top three, and then time permitting, however much time we have left for the listener, we're gonna then maybe talk about some honorable mentions. We're absolutely positive going to go off on some sort of tangent at some point and end up God knows where. Back to Butt Boy, and then but yeah, I think would you want to start off with your number 3 favorite paranormal movie?
Yes, and I got to pull up the date because I'm horrible with foreign films. But so this one kicked out one of my honorable mentions, and I'll just say it. It kicked out Dead Silence for number 3 because I really enjoyed Dead Silence.
Okay.
I don't know if that's on your list.
I have not seen it since it released, but when it first released, I saw it and I did not like it.
Oh,
I don't know if that is a controversial thing. I know that James Wan has came out and said I think he's disowned the movie. So I don't know.
oh, really?
It's he said that movie was like the one time I think something along the lines of that movie was the one like after the success of Saw,
Yeah.
and I think he did one other movie before that. This was like the movie that was like more or less given to him by whatever studio,
Mhm.
and he's like that was the one and only, that was the first and last time that I will ever let a studio tell me what the fuck I can and can't do. So I don't know. I know he is not a fan of the film.
Of course, it would be in my fashion to pick like the worst of James Wan's catalog, but
But maybe it's good. I don't know.
I really liked the whole Mary Shaw thing, and I liked the doll. That's all I'm going to say. We won't go too much into it because it's in my honorable mention. But
Wait, I want to get to real quick because
okay, yeah,
I will rewatch it because I have heard that it has some fans. The
mhm.
literal only thing I remember about the movie because this is like we're talking like Hollywood Video Blockbuster is when I saw this movie.
Yeah,
I rented it from there. It's like I remember there being a scene. I want to say like in like an opera house or some shit, and there's like a wall with like hundreds of dolls on it. Am I making that up, or
no,
yeah? Okay, all right. That's the only thing I remember about the movie.
and Donnie Wahlberg's in it.
Didn't even know that the fucking New Kid on the Block was in there as well.
He was the cop, and he was ridiculous. But there's, yeah, I thought you were going to say the scene in the opera house where they're doing the puppet because that scene is so intense and it's so creepy because Mary Shaw like she haunts my dreams, and Greg like purposely paused it on DVD, and then like in the middle of the night, so when I woke up and I saw like static like light, I looked up and I sat up and it was her coming out from the curtain. I was like, ah! And I fucking snapped because so much it scared me. So there's that. But
I
so
will I have to give it a second viewing.
and you gotta, I mean, I know you'll be honest with me, but you'll see the cheesiness of why I like it. But anyway, so my number 3, and I won't go too far because it just went off on
No,
a Dead Silence tangent. But
go right ahead. Let's fucking let this rip.
okay, so it's a newer movie and it's newer to me, but it is just the epitome of a paranormal movie. And it's 2017's Terrified, and it's on Shudder, and it's an Argentine film. So it's all subtitles. But this movie, Sam, I'm not even kidding you. The first time in a long time that a movie scared me, continuously scared me. Visuals were perfect, storyline was perfect, pacing was perfect. It was just I'm
Well, I'm looking at a pretty fucked up image right now, so I can tell you that much.
it's so good, and it was written and directed by Demian Rugana, and it's just so it's a neighborhood, and it starts off and one thing happens, and then they kind of like talk about the thing that happened, and another house is experiencing stuff, and then another thing happens, and I don't want to give too much away because I want you to watch it and not really know too much about it. Yes. Oh my god, so fucking good. And of course, it's a Shutter original. You know I'm a horror for Shutter.
Yes, I'm a big fan of Shutter. This Shutter original. The fact that Shutter's out there fucking making movies like that's wonderful.
It is, and they have in my opinion, they've been the most consistent people to put out originals, like cuz all of the ones that they put out, I love them. I think they're great. So I highly recommend that one, especially now that it is October and it is spooky season. If you want something that you've never seen and shut the lights off, don't have a drink in your hand or food on your lap because you will literally Greg was upstairs and I fucking screamed at one of the jump scares and he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "You got to see this." And he came down and he's like, "Whoa." And he wanted to watch the movie, so I restarted it and it was so good.
Well, I mean, I don't know much about it, but I will say if you Google it and hit image search, you get two things: the cover, and the other is a pretty fucked up image of we'll just say a kid drinking a glass of milk.
And that whole storyline, because it's all together, but it chops it up, as individual. But that storyline in particular, oh my god, it gives you like even talking about it gives me goosebumps. Like it's so fucking good. It's so good.
I will now with it being on Shudder. There's almost a guarantee I will get to it because after a while you run out of stuff to watch. So I'll get to it on Shudder eventually. Also, there's also now that they've announced that the new Joe Bob season I think is going to be like 33 episodes long. There's a good chance he'll fucking do it. So
True. I didn't. Wow, that's fun.
yeah, so they've I think it's like 30 to 33 episodes they're doing, and instead of doing 2 movies a night, now they're just doing 1 movie a night. So but still that he's gonna do like it's a month worth of movies but they have to be on the Shudder catalog. It's a good chance he's gonna get to it.
I think it's so good. And I hear a lot of people talk about, like, it was on the 101 most scariest moments on their special that they had. So I hope he picks it.
I hope so too, because then I will for sure watch it. But if not, I will attempt to get to it because I've just never seen it. But I know you've mentioned it, and I've heard other people mention it as well.
Yay! I'm glad that we started off strong with a number 3. So, what is your number 3?
So I'm gonna be just honest here. I went into this. I gave myself the caveat of no. I went no possessions. I just went straight spookers and haunted houses. And I also am going in, and I'm not. But I've talked so much on this show about my love of the Conjuring universe. So I'm eliminating any Conjuring movie. Honorable pick. Just 2 is the fucking best. 1's really good. Yeah. There's a lot of good movies in that franchise. So just I eliminate, and I'll just also be fair on that in general. Anything made by James Wan, I like, but I've talked about it, so I'm not putting it as a pick. We'll just go from there.
Yeah.
So some of these movies are going to be a little, different, I would say, but I'm going to go with my favorite Stephen King adaptation, which is not one of his most popular, but I love 1408.
Oh, John Cusack.
Yes. What's up?
I haven't watched that in so long, but that's a great pick.
Yes. So I really, really, really like 1408. If you haven't seen it, it's John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson. And basically Cusack is a guy who goes around and he stays in the most haunted places in America, and then he writes stories about them. And he's pretty much all but said like there's no such thing as ghosts, and this is all bullshit, and he's really jaded. Except of course, he finds the run that is haunted.
Of course.
I fucking love John Cusack. He's one of my favorite actors. I think I've told you how much I love the movie Say Anything, so I've been a big fan of his. I really like this one. I love fuck it. It's old. We're talking spoilers. Yeah. There's like a part in that movie that's so Stephen King that it's just, I love it. So he's trapped in a hotel room, he can't get out of this room. But the laws of physics don't apply in this fucking thing. So there's like a 30-minute break. I don't know. Okay, maybe not that long. I don't know. There's like maybe a 20-minute break in the movie where he, like, towards the end of the movie where he escapes, and like it shows his life like doing mundane things like going to the post office, fucking paying bills. He's been out for months. And then then he slowly starts to realize that he's never escaped, and he's still in the fucking room. So and then like the ghosts start like mocking him even more, which is like, and he really loses his shit. But I love the concept of like fucking with you. Like, we're going to fuck with you, but we're going to fuck with you for a month straight and make you think you're out. And I love that. I
Joke's
really,
on
really
you.
like it. Yeah. I believe it's Stephen King. He said it's his favorite adaptation. He thinks it's the one that, of all his movies that have been made, it's the one that got like the tone and the feeling that he was going for best, for
Yeah.
whatever that's worth. But I really,
Yeah.
really like that movie.
That's a compliment too, coming from the master of horror. You know what I mean? Like that's a pretty hefty compliment.
Well, yeah, and for someone who's had a God knows how many movies and TV shows made about his shit,
Yeah.
and he's probably at this point used to people fucking up his shit. So not even if they fuck it up. I mean, most of his adaptations are pretty well received, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that it's exactly how he pictured it, in his head.
Exactly. Because I mean, like it's an adaptation, so it's you know perceived in their form or whatever. But I don't know. That's such a good pick because I feel like no one really ever talks about that movie, but I really enjoyed it when I watched it.
And that's kind of why I threw it on there. Like, is it a perfect movie? Absolutely not. But like an 8 out of 10, I think is fine. I saw it in theaters. I own it.
Yeah.
Um, it's also a very simplified movie, which I kind of like that sometimes in horror, because while the majority of it does take place in a hotel room, it also, like, he ends up in the ocean at one point, and like it also, like, there's like this fun otherworldly aspect inside this room. And then also Samuel Jackson's in it, just being Samuel Jackson, and he's fucking awesome. So
Yeah. I mean, anytime Sammy J is in a movie, it's like even if he gets when he gets eaten by sharks, it's
wonderful.
chef's kiss. Yes.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen it and you're a Ghosty fan, I'd say it's a lesser known one these days. And if you like Stephen King, I would go check it out, because it's one of his less talked about movies.
Yeah, it is. I feel like I never ever really hear anyone talk about it. So get this movie out and have people watch it.
Yep, I think people will enjoy it, especially for the holiday season. It's a great fucking pick.
I think I might actually like rewatch that either tonight when we're done or this weekend.
It has something that I think about constantly. So I mean, I smoke when I drink. I do.
Mhm. Yeah.
And there's a thing in that movie where he hasn't had a cigarette in like 20 years or something, but he always keeps this one cigarette that was his last cigarette, which has to be the stalest cigarette on the planet. But
I know.
he has to, but he keeps it because it comforts him. And like, but and he's in a stressful situation, so he's
Mhm.
constantly fighting, like, also like is he gonna smoke it or not? And like there's a scene at the end of the movie that, I mean, without giving too much away, you could probably guess what he fucking does with the cigarette. But it just was such a cool scene, like, that ends the movie and it's fucking phenomenal. I don't want to give too much away for people who haven't seen it, but it's got a really satisfying ending that I think about every single time I'm drinking and I
Mhm.
smoke a cigarette for whatever that's worth.
I love it. It
Yeah.
sticks with you.
Yeah.
Endings like that because it's hard sometimes in paranormal movies to stick a landing because sometimes it's so good and then when you get to the end, it's like it goes off the rails and you're just like, okay, what was the purpose of all that awesomeness for this shit?
Yeah. I will say that is sometimes I feel like they don't know how to end these movies.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
But that was my number 3 pick. Jordana, what is yours?
Okay, so I'm also I should have done this at 3, like you just did, but by saying like, we've discussed The Conjuring and you love The Conjuring, James Wan movies, like, and I'm gonna say that, like, of course, I think Insidious is one of the best, and if that's on your list,
No. No,
okay,
that's in the
yes,
Waniverse.
yes, the one verse that we're not gonna touch on too much, but like, I think that's one of the best haunted house, haunted person, uh movies. So that was like, of course, I thought of that. Poltergeist is another one that I absolutely love, and I just rewatched. I think that's a really good paranormal movie. But like, I feel like my list is more newer movies, to kind of just like bring a new face to paranormal. So my number 2, with that being said, is another, because I'm a Shutter movie, Shutter original, and it's 2022's or 2020's Host.
2020's Host. Okay. Tell me what that's about.
Okay, so
'Cause I
just
have not seen it. I can tell you that right now.
okay, so and it's another one on Shudder. This one is 56 minutes, and it's the most perfect amount of time to do what they did. And when you read the synopsis, you're gonna be like,
Wait, okay, I have seen the trailer for this because this is the movie that was made during quarantine, if I'm correct, right? So it's all shot like on Skype or whatever.
yeah, it's a pandemic movie through and
Yeah.
through. And the way that they did this movie, and like when Greg heard it, he's like, I'm not watching this shit, but we just watched it, and Roz watched it. She fucking loved it. But this movie hits every single piece that is paranormal. Like you so a group of girls and their one guy friend are going to do a seance over Skype because they're all in quarantine or whatever.
Hmm.
And madness ensues. And I won't say what happens and how we get to where we get to, but it is shot so well. The effects are done so well. The character development in 56 minutes is mind blowing how good it is. Um
Well,
it's
and that makes it pretty digestible too, I'd have to imagine. I mean, 56 minutes is, I mean, that's shorter than some episodes of television. So,
exactly like some TV episodes are an hour long, like granted with commercials, but still like this movie, and it delivers so many intense jump scares that my niece rolled backwards on the couch. Like she literally, because we were all upright watching it because it was super intense. And then when it happened, she rolled back and then popped back up. Like I'm not even exaggerating how good this movie is.
so that I've heard that it is good. What I think is just impressive about it is like how much fandom it has, and like you said, like the
Mhm.
special effects are really good and everything for a movie that was shot by the actors themselves. I mean, essentially that's the way they had to shoot it because they it's like filming a movie. Like I film this little part of the movie, and then you film this part of the movie, and then you film this part of the movie, and then we
Yeah.
stick it all together. You know, like
The credit is the credits is like the end of a Skype meeting, like by like the little dots in the color, and it's their first names, and it's like played by and their first name and their last name. And it's just the way that it starts, the way it ends, it's just literal perfection to me. I think and again, 56 minutes.
I
Like,
you sold me. I'm like I think this is what I'm watching after we get off here tonight because I'm like
yeah,
56 minutes because even if I don't like it, it's less than an hour, you know, and I've heard it's good. But yeah, I'm sold on it. I think that this is good. Plus, like you said, you're going with a little bit of a newer thing right now. I also
mhm,
want to say I think Paranormal is uh the in horror genre right now. Like if you're gonna make a movie and it's gonna go to theater and it's gonna get a nationwide release,
mhm.
the odds of it being a paranormal movie, I think, are much better getting there than if it were, say, like a slasher or something, else.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing of it too is like I love that Shudder is pumping out these movies with the simple concept of a paranormal experience, but having these different twists and take and modernizing it and not making it like super obnoxious, but like how relatable. Like we lived through a time where all we did was Skype and all we did was to communicate with people the way that they're doing it. And the way that shit unfolds, and it's so simple, and after like you watch it, I want to discuss it with you because it's such a simple premise, but it works, and you're just like, oh shit, like
I
I don't
mean,
know.
I'm down. Like I said, this is I I will admit that I oftentimes I tend to watch older, like I tend to watch movies that are older, but way more than I watch. Like, I think I have a little bit of like anti recency bias, where like if I see a movie, if I'm scrolling through and I'm like, it's made in 2017, you say, well, that probably sucks. Like that's like
Yeah,
I'm like, well, movies suck now. So I'm like, if I can go with that, or I can go from a movie from like 1994, like, I don't know. I think I'm gonna like it. So I think I have like anti recency bias, and I tend to skip a lot of newer movies. But this one you sold me on.
but I'm the same goddamn way because I'm like, if it's anything, from like you said, 2017, even like 2016 on, I'm like, I don't know if it's gonna be even worth it because there might be some cool things happening, but it's not gonna be good. Like Terrified blew my mind. This one blew my mind. And I'm like giddy talking about these movies because they're so good. And I've
I can
watched
tell.
them multiple times because they're that good. I
See,
love it.
and that's a testament, I have to say. Not just that you're watching movies again, because we're psychos and we watch the same movies over and over again. I was, what the hell was I saw a post that was like, what's name a movie you've watched 20 times? And I was like, I have a fuck ton of movies. like I have movies that I'm like, I may not even really like that much that I've seen 20 times.
It's like Nate or so natural just to throw it on.
Yeah, like I'll be like, oh, okay, well, Yes Man's on again. It's not that great of a movie, but yeah, sure, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that to say that about a screen time movie, that seems impressive to me, because I have seen a few of these screen time movies. Like I saw Missing. Missing was good for what it was. It's the John Cho movie. He's trying to find his daughter, whatever. But like I would never watch it again, because I'm like, again, the whole movie, I'm just staring at this guy's fucking face,
Yeah.
Like, so the fact that you're like, I've seen this multiple times, even though it's a COVID quarantine kind of gimmicky movie, like I think that speaks to how good this movie is.
I like want to show it to people. Like when his family comes down, I'm like, did we watch Host last time? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, well, we're watching it. And like, we're having people over this weekend, and I'm like, this would be a fun movie to watch, because it's not like, if the girls pop up and they see it, it's not like something that would traumatize them, but it will scare them. And because they don't watch horror movies. So I'm like, what is the good? And this is on the top of my list. So I'm excited.
All right. Well, I'm down for it.
Yeah.
All right. My number 2 here, which I gotta make a choice now.
I know.
Fuck it. We got honorable mentions. I'll keep the list as it was originally written. I feel like it's a pretty basic choice, but I also feel like it's a classic for a reason, and I'm gonna go with The Sixth Sense.
Yes. I almost put that on my list.
I cannot stress to people, like, I know it's almost become like a joke. I think if you're like under a certain age, like The Sixth Sense is like, it's the joke that is written about in other movies or other TV shows, the I see dead people and blah, 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 blah. I cannot stress how much of a phenomenon this movie was. Like when this came out, it was everywhere and everybody was talking about it. Like, and universally, I don't know one person who doesn't say this is a good movie. Like, this is a fucking great movie. And I also, I mean, I guess I can't really, because I was young when this movie came out. I don't know if it was obvious or not, but I thought I was, I didn't see the twist coming when I first saw it.
I didn't either. And then when it happened, you're like, oh my, because it was done so well that you didn't even pay attention to what the hell is going on.
Yeah, 100%. And I've rewatched it not that long ago, and like, I think if you haven't seen it in a while, like, it's a scary movie. Like, it's like for some reason, like looking back, I was like, I don't think of it as like a horror movie, but like there's some pretty scary shit that happens in that movie. Not like, like it's gonna like give you nightmares, but like it's a dark movie.
Misha Barton, when she pushes the book out, that part fucking scared me, because I don't even remember how old I was when it came out, but just seeing her and just doing it under the bed, I was like, like that fucking scared me.
The part that I always remember as a kid, like that scared me, I think the most, was the guy at the beginning of the movie who blows his brains out, and then later he shows up as a ghost, and like I don't know why, but like, and he's talking to the kid or whatever, and then like when he turns around and you just see like this giant fucking hole in the back of his head, for some reason, like that scared me as a kid. Like I was like, that freaked me out.
Yeah, because imagine like being as a kid in that position, like thinking to yourself, what if I saw a ghost like that and he turns around, his head's blown off? Like, it's terrifying.
Oh, it's like, that's the thing again. I think this movie's become a joke as far as like, like how it's referenced. But think about the actual plot of the movie. There's only one kid in the world who can see, or one person in the world who can see ghosts, and it's like a 7-year-old. Like, and now you know, some of the ghosts are friendly and don't bother him, but some of them are like, you know, they know that he's the only one who can see him, so they're going to they're mad or angry or whatever, and they're gonna fuck with him.
Yeah.
Such a good fucking concept. And then obviously the twist here, you know, talking about shoving things up your butt. If you want, if you think this is a funny twist, listeners, or it's a joke, you can shove that take right up your butt. It is one of the best twists I will say, of all time. That is one of the best twists.
It is, without a doubt. Like that, when that bomb was dropped, people like it's crazy, and it can never. I don't want to say it can never be done again, but something as effective as that, you don't see it a lot. I know there's been like twists, but like no one saw that coming.
Yes, and I mean, I think it became a joke because it is a movie that like everybody fucking saw. I mean, it was a phenomenon, so everybody knew what they were talking about and in on the joke. But then also because after the success of that, you know, then that sort of became M. Night's trademark, was a big twist, which sometimes worked out, sometimes didn't. I'm a big M. Night fan, so I don't care. But I don't know. I genuinely think, you know, okay. Everyone knows what the twist is. Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. Mind blown. I know, you just fucking, your headphones literally just popped off your ears. But I also think that always offers, it's a movie that needs to be seen twice. Yes. Because the first time you saw it and you didn't know it, you were like, holy shit, when that happened. Mm-hmm. And then it makes the second viewing of it completely different, because now you're starting to be like, oh, like this happened and this didn't happen. And you know what? No one else is really talking to Bruce, you know, like,
yeah. And you're so aware, and like you see it in a completely different lens. And I love that, because I felt like even after I watched it numerous times, you still pick up on
little things.
Yeah.
There's little things that like I've never even noticed before. There's just like, I forget, like I think I had to be, the internet brought it up, and the next time I watched it is like, there's a scene where Haley Joel Osment is, you can see his breath, but you can't see Bruce's breath because like it's cold out, and I was like, that's fucking cool. Like,
and it's so simple, and the fact that M. Night like thinks like that, and it's so simple, but for him to like have different surprises, because like you said, in most of his movies he has like a reveal, but the way he does things, he's a storyteller, man, and I love him so much, because that man has so much up here, and I think he's brilliant. And on top of that, like Joel, or what's his name, Haley Joel Osment,
yeah,
him, as amazing as he was as a child star, but Toni Collette, I mean, that whole scene where they're talking about grandma and she's crying, every time I watch that, I don't even care if I watched it like 2 times in a row, I fucking cry.
It gets you.
Good. Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason. I mean, that movie shot M. Night to superstardom, and I'm happy it did, because, I mean, spoiler alert for next week's episode, which we've kind of decided what we're talking about, which is, I think we said we're going to do alien horror movies. Guess what my number one is? I'll let you take a guess, but we'll move on.
Yeah, and I think we can comfortably like put a number one spot jointly to talk about it, because come on now.
So that would be my number 2 choice, would be The Sixth Sense.
Excellent choice. I had a feeling, because I'm like, I want to put that on there, or even honorable, but I knew that would be brought up.
And that's the thing. I even like, there's some that I was like, I'm not. I feel like, you know, like I'm like, I know something's gonna get brought up. I mean, like I even had like this like ready to go, because I'm like, well, somebody's gonna fucking bring it up. I was like, somebody's gonna bring up The Conjuring. So, like I had like this ready to go, and I'm like, you know, someone's gonna talk about it.
The Conjuring 2 has so many amazing scenes, and again, like the epitome of a great paranormal, like the shots, and I love The Conjuring 2. It's so
I do too. And I just, as a secondary thing, I'm also very upset that they canceled The Crooked Man. He was getting his own solo movie. I think The Nun is great in The Conjuring. Yes, but I didn't like The Nun, the actual spin-off movie. I think it's the worst of the entire franchise. And because of that, I don't really have an interest to see The Nun 2.
I'm the same way because I did not think it was good. And Greg's like, "What are you talking about? I love the Nun." I'm like, "Ugh."
No, I
What was
wasn't. No.
there was nothing there was nothing comparable to the 2 minutes that she's on screen during the scene with Lorraine where she walks, you see her down the hall and the whole painting thing. Like
Yeah.
that is I was expecting that. I'm like, oh my God, there's gonna be a nun movie, there's gonna be all of that happening, and there was literal nothing.
Yeah, it didn't have any scares to me, and it just felt like, I don't know, it felt
Boring.
like boring and like overly religious, like, which I get, it's about a nun, I understand it, but like to a point where I'm like, it's boring, and like I just don't care. Like when they announced they were going to do a Crooked Man movie, I was like,
Oh yeah.
that was more exciting to me because I'm like, you could go in a lot of fucking directions with that, and he's a cool monster, but whatever.
Yeah. I'm pissed that they canceled that too, because I think that he probably would have been they would have done so much with him to catapult over the nun and Annabelle, but
I think so too. Yeah, some of the
yeah.
Annabelle movies are okay, but some of them are fucking boring as well. The
The
first
only
one's actually, I think, the worst. So
I think so too, but now that you even like we talk about the nun, I don't remember anything from the nun. Like I literally don't remember like scenes or anything like that. Nothing stood out to me, and I don't really remember any Annabelle movies.
like, yeah, they don't really stand out. There's the one that takes place like at the farmhouse, which is like in the past. I thought that one was pretty good. The first
Yeah,
movie did suck. I didn't like the first one. But yeah, there's nothing that really stands out to me about those movies. I still think the best Annabelle scene is in The Conjuring. Like
yeah,
like that opening scene is it's better than all of these solo Annabelle movies.
yeah.
Um but I don't know. I was excited for the Crooked Man. I hope maybe it sees the light of day again. We'll see. I don't understand why it wouldn't. All the Conjuring movies make a shit ton of money, so why not make it? But whatever.
Because you know it's gonna bank. They know that people will go see it because if they're fans of the Conjuring universe, they're gonna go see it. So
There
it's
hasn't been a single one that's flopped, so I don't understand why they were like, no, we don't want to make this one. Like,
I'm
all
not doing that.
right. Anyway,
Oh well, I mean, I'm gonna do my number one.
ooh, drum roll.
Well, I feel like you're gonna be like, wow, internally sad that I picked, or not sad, but just kind of like disappointed in myself. But I have to go with my heart and I have to go with my gut, and that's going to be Hell House LLC. I have to.
Well, at
I
least I've
have
seen this one. I've seen this one at least.
I was just like thinking, what is a good paranormal with a haunted house with, just I don't know. I fucking love Hell House. I think that
You also
uh,
love found footage style movies.
I do. And I kind of notice, I mean, I obviously am very self-aware of what I like, but looking at my list, I'm like, this is all like a lot of found footage stuff. But I think Hell House was done so well. I think the simplicity of panning to the clown looking downstairs and then panning back and he's looking, just all of the way that they're set up, the bedroom scene with the girl, like, oh, I don't know, I just that one hit me in a way. I told you I had to sleep downstairs because I was so afraid to get off the couch. Like I held
I
my pee.
remember. I think I was there. I not there. I think yeah, I was there. That's
Sam, what
scary.
was you in the corner? I thought it was like the ghost, but it was Sam.
No, I mean, I think I was. I believe, if I'm correct, we were like talking the first time you watched the movie, and
Yeah.
I remember because here's. I mean, for anyone who if that hasn't listened or hasn't heard us talk about this before, I was like, I think you were like, "Whoa, how's Hell House?" And I was like, "Fucking hated it, boring as shit." And then you were like, "I had to sleep on the couch."
I did. I was like, oh shit. I'm like, Sam hates it. This is gonna suck. And then I turned it on and I was like, what? And my sister-in-law was on the other couch and she was like, damn. And then I told her, I'm like, Andrew, I have to pee, but I don't want to get up. I'm scared. And then it stopped and it was like, do you want to play Hell House LLC too? And I didn't even I didn't even take the remote to stop it. I'm like, I get yes. And then that one was fucking scary and ended up passing out halfway through it. And I woke up to the ending, and the ending was scary, and it scared me when I woke up. So I don't know.
Well, and they're making another one. I think it's about to come out soon, if I'm correct.
Yeah, it's debuting on my Shutter needs to like hire me. Like we need some like sort of endorsement by Shudder because it's coming on Shudder, I think the 30th or on Halloween, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, I believe that is correct. And I think Screambox has something big coming out this year on because they remember last year they debuted Terrifier 2 on Halloween
Yes.
on Screambox, which was the one day I had a subscription to Screambox.
I think everyone did. I think everyone was like, I'm gonna get this for like.
But they've also got something. They have a deal with something. I can't remember what. I'll have to look that up. But you know what? I'll be honest. Fuck Screambox. Shudder is so much better.
I don't. I ask people. I think you
Pay
and
us,
I have talked
Shudder.
about it. Yeah, Shudder. I tag them all the time when I do my little clips and stuff. I always hype them up because I just love them so much.
Oh, big fan.
Huge fan. But it's an origin story, so I'm kind of excited to see what they're doing storyline wise because I mean, obviously we know what's happening now. I'm curious to see how they're going to do the origin story.
Well, I would be happy to watch it, and you know, maybe this could be like Terrifier 2 for me, where I hated the first one, and maybe because I've never seen the second one, and I probably won't. But for if you are into them, because I know you are, I think we should watch the third one, and let's see if we can Damien Leone this shit and turn me into a fan.
I can't. I feel like I just worked my magic. Not even it's not my magic, but I think it's like a one and done with you. And I know that I'll probably strike out on a couple things, but I don't know. Maybe this one will be a hitter.
It'd be if we disagree, it'll be a fun episode too. So who cares?
I know it would be, but yeah, I thought about putting something like Poltergeist as number one because that's like classic. And I keep going back to Poltergeist, and I just keep saying that because I just watched it, but. This one truly just sits in my heart, my black and white clown heart. I feel like I'm like oddly fixated and attracted to like black and white clowns.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
you know, Michael Myers is white face, you know, with a black suit or a bluish suit, but whatever.
I don't know. What's my deal? Maybe I should like go talk to a therapist and be like, so I really like these horror characters.
I think you just have like Tim Burton syndrome. Like he's, you know, like he's all into like, yes, black and white stripes on everything.
I like that. I'm gonna say that from now on. Tim Burton syndrome. But so that's my number one. But I thought I had your one pinpointed, but I don't think I do.
Well, it's been brought up tonight. My number one with a bullet, absolutely no question about it. As soon as you mentioned it, like it's not even a question as to what my favorite paranormal movie is Poltergeist.
Oh my God, Sam, why didn't you like message me and be like,
because it doesn't matter. Poltergeist was obviously going to get brought up on this episode at some point.
Yeah.
Poltergeist is it is to me the quintessential ghost movie.
Yes.
You get fun, you know, like practical shit, you know, with just like the shit moving around the house when they're not looking. And you know what I like about it is, I mean, everything, but it starts off as a movie where you're like, okay, like it's going to be like one of these movies where you don't get to see much at, you know, where you don't see anything. It's just going to be like cheap things, like, you know, stuff moving around the house and whatnot. Oh, okay, cool. And then they're like, okay, now this dude's going to rip his fucking face off.
I know that scene. Oh my God.
You're going to rip his face off. There's going to be bodies coming up from the ground. There's really cool. I don't quite know how they did it, but I love it's not CGI, but like how they made the ghosts, like kind of like how they looked in Ghostbusters, where they're like, it's like, I don't know. It's like they superimposed a like film over it, but it gives it this cool, like wispy kind of look.
Yes. When it's coming down the stairs.
Yeah, it was coming down the stairs. Or I mean, I clipped it because I was like, it's like that's what I think of when I think of Poltergeist. Is like I think of that wispy effect of the ghosts themselves. And for people who maybe younger people who've never seen it before, like this is like what I'm referring to. Like
I love it.
I just love the way it looks. It also, I don't know if this is correct or not. This is just what I think if it didn't start this trope, I think it became It's the one that popularized it, and it's like not just going to be haunted house, but then like we identify that it's a haunted house, and we like bring a team in to like, you know, work with it, and which is like used in I mean, that is what The Conjuring basically fucking is.
Right.
um
Or
I
even like
love it.
heavily Insidious, like watching the guy whose face comes off, it's totally the dude that comes in with what's her name? You know, like the two dudes in the white
Mhm.
shirt with the tie. It's,
Yeah,
I mean, it's almost identical to like his presence coming in. And I think it's an awesome nod to Poltergeist in
it's a wonderful
Insidious.
one.
But excellent pick. I love Poltergeist. And on top of all the, like you said, the effects, the scary imagery, the actors are perfect. Like what's his name?
Craig T.
Nelson.
Nelson.
Yep, like he's great. The mom is great. The brother, Carol Ann, what's her name? I can never say it.
The only one that I can name is Craig T. Nelson.
The girl that this house is clean. The
Oh,
lady that comes in.
the little lady with the
The little
voice.
yes, I love her. Like she's and I had Kevin Ketchy on talking about decades of horror, and he recited the dialogue from when she was talking about Carol Ann and how they're drawn to her, and it's like one of the most powerful presence, and just everything about her delivery, and like her talking, and then the shot to the mom crying because she knows like how fucked her kid is in there. You know what I mean? Like it's terrifying.
Yeah,
So
no, it's
good.
absolutely scary. And I think that became a trope as well, you know, like I mean everybody has parodied the little lady with the voice, and just also like I think just making it, you know, if you really break it down, what is happening in that movie is you're really getting like just little, I don't want to say like it's almost like watching an SNL skit, you know, where okay, the dad is over here, you know, ripping his face off, and you know, it's just like little vignettes of things that are happening that are
Yep.
all tied to the primary story, which is getting Carol Ann back.
Yep.
And I love that it's a simple premise. It's just it's a family trying to stay together as much as they can, you know, and put on a brave face and get their kid back. It's fucking great. And by the way, also for a franchise, I have never watched the remake. I probably never will, but
No.
Poltergeist 1, 2, and 3, not bad movies. Like 2 and 3 are not bad.
So after we got done watching that tonight, Greg's like, we're watching two because two is he thinks it's better than the first one.
It's good. That with got the creepy guy and
Yes, Kane. Oh my god,
mhm.
he scared the shit out of me when I was younger. But Roz was such a fan of it, and she's like, can we watch two tonight? I'm like, no. I'm like, we're recording tonight, and but I think we might watch that tomorrow night. So I'm
Yeah,
excited.
it's a great one. And you know, here's the thing, and I'm not gonna like make a blanket statement about this. Like, I don't want every ghost movie to be like this.
Right.
The reason there are so many ghost movies is every ghost movie could not be this movie, because this movie, I have to imagine, was a pretty fucking expensive movie to make.
Oh yeah.
But it was produced by Steven Spielberg. There is the rumor that he directed it, in Toby because and Toby got because Toby Hooper did get fired at some point, but whatever. I don't care. Um,
Really?
so Toby Hooper, who made Texas Chainsaw,
Yep.
this was his first and I think his only really big budget movie he got to make. But at some point, he did get fired off the set. Spielberg, who was a producer, there's been a long rumor that a lot of people have came out and said is total bullshit, but it is out there. Is that basically the rumor is that Spielberg was like, you can't handle this. I'm going to fucking do it. I'm going to give you credit. Don't worry. Like Toby's still credited as the director on the of the on the film. But
Mhm.
the rumor is that Spielberg actually did it. So,
And it
and I'll be honest, it feels more like a Spielberg movie than it does a Toby movie.
oh my god, exact words out of my mouth tonight because when I oh, no, actually, words out of Rosalind's mouth. She said that looks like the neighborhood from ET.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, very much a Spielberg feel to it. And she's like, yeah, because obviously she knows Jaws, ET, and she picked up on that. So I was like, for you to even notice that, that says a lot. And then at the end, Greg was like, wait, Spielberg didn't direct it. I said, no, he was the producer, one of the producers, but doesn't it feel very Spielbergy? And he's like, yeah. So that I didn't even know that he got fired or
Yeah.
any of that.
Yeah, and this is a long stay. You can Google it, and it's a whole thing. Like, I don't know. I'm not. I'm not even the biggest fan of Texas Chainsaw. So
Yeah.
in my gut, I've always believed it to be true, just because I don't personally like. I've never seen a Toby Hooper movie where I'm like, wow, you did great. And especially with the simplicity of Texas Chainsaw, to then go into like this movie with all these effects and crazy
Yeah.
shit happening. I don't know, man. It just, to me, feels like he might have been in over his head. That's how it feels, but
Yeah.
nobody will really ever know.
Well, it's true when you said that, because I'm like, this doesn't have any sort of like Texas Chainsaw feel, and it did feel super Spielbergy, so that would make total sense. And my mind's blown. See, I'm like a horror lover, but I don't know like a lot of details on things. I know that sounds horrible because I have access to it in my hand and I have access to like a computer, but like when I was growing up, I never knew little facts because we didn't have the accessibility. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't know any of this till I mean, probably the internet started. But I love learning about the making of the movies and
Yeah.
this is, again, like, this is a rumor. There, he is credited as it, but you can, for the listeners, if you don't know about it, and maybe you're going to tell me, you're fucking wrong. I mean, just, you can Google it and jump down the rabbit hole of who made this fucking movie. But I'm going to say I'm the conspiracy theorist on this one. And I am with the conspiracy theory that Spielberg directed this movie.
I'm gonna go ahead and agree with you, and I'm gonna hop on that conspiracy theory train because I felt the same as you. But I mean, what else? What did they say about rumors? Like a rumor to be started, there has to be like a sliver of a truth.
I mean, not something I researched for this this particular one, but I mean, here, watch here. Well, let's just. I will literally just Google, because I know it won't take long for it to come up. But if you Google Poltergeist Spielberg directed, it's the first thing that comes up.
Oh,
Yeah, and the very first article, ghost director, did Hooper or Spielberg direct Poltergeist? Steven Spielberg actually directed Poltergeist. Poltergeist movie stars deny rumor about Steven Spielberg. So like, it's out there. Like, this is a thing people fucking, yeah.
I love it.
It's and you know what, even if it's not true, it's a fun way to, we're sitting here talking about it, but something about it just feels far more Spielbergian than it does Hooper.
Absolutely. But I think our lists were phenomenal. I think we had some great choices.
I do as well.
Did you have any honorable mentions that you wanted to throw in?
Do you have any honorable mentions you want to throw in? Because I know you had a list much larger than mine.
I did. Okay, so I won't say too many, but I had on there The Dark and the Wicked, and that
Okay,
is
it's also a Shudder.
of course, why wouldn't it be? But that one truly is creepy in like the Exorcist realm of like a darker, like a super dark take on paranormal. I love that movie. It's so good. We won't talk about that one too much, but
Okay, I mean, we could talk about them a little bit depending on how long we got here, but all right, for other ones here that I had on here, I also really like, really mainstream, but I like the Tim Burton Sleepy Hollow.
so good.
Classic story of the Headless Horseman ghost. But I think that might overall be my favorite Tim Burton movie. I
That's
don't.
mine.
And I think it's just really, really good. It's not a traditional ghost story by any means, but it is a
Mhm.
fun one.
It. I love the way it's shot with the
I guess it is
contrast.
like the most traditional ghost story ever. It's like the oldest one.
The Headless Horseman, and it's
Yeah.
perfect. And it, like Christopher Walken, hello.
Oh, with his fucked up teeth.
Yes, and I love how it's shot in that dark, grainy black and white, and then it has like the red so bright. And oh, that is such a good movie. That's such a good pick.
It is phenomenal. But let's hear another one of yours. I know you got some you want to talk about.
Okay, another one is like an unknown, and it's Netflix, and it's called The Ritual.
I know The Ritual.
Yes, and that one, I mean, I wasn't sure if it fell under like the paranormal like the normal paranormal uh column, but like I don't know, it's like the story and the guy is out in the woods and then the creatures at the end and it's been a long time since I've watched it, but I remember watching it being like, wow, this movie was fucking fantastic and I loved it. It was
I
2017 when it came out.
I really liked it as well. I haven't seen it since it came out.
Yeah.
I don't really remember a ghost aspect to it. I could be wrong. All I remember, I mean, truthfully, the only thing I remember really liking it, but the only thing I remember was the awesome fucking creature at the end.
Yes, and that like in the woods when it was it kind of like on fire? It
Yeah.
was like
Mhm.
big and it was moving and stuff.
Yeah, and it had like the little things coming out at the chest. Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah, like very reminiscent of the thing-ish.
Yeah, but like gigantic.
Yes, but like I feel like the storyline had like that supernatural like element, and that's why I kind of had it as a hanger because that's that weird. Is it considered
It-
paranormal? Is it considered folk
and
horror
you
as
know what?
well?
And I see where you're going with that because I have one that's on my list for that too.
Well, what is it?
It's Blair Witch. I thought
Okay.
about putting it on here, but I'm like, I'm like, is it a ghost story? We don't really know what the fuck the Blair Witch is. You never see it. Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
unless you watch the shitty remake. Uh,
I know. God, like
so
why do they have to do that?
because fucking Adam Wingard is a piece of shit who ruins everything.
Well, Adam Winger needs to knock that shit off. But no, I Blair Witch was also is also on my list because I feel like it is paranormal. I mean, she is it's like a witch. It's like, like you hear the kids in the tent, the weird noises.
Yeah, and see, and then she's possessing them. I think I
I
don't
know, like
really.
the ending is so amazing, but like they're down in the basement. Are they being possessed? Is she there? Like obviously she's there. It's like
I think a term you said just a minute ago when you were trying to describe the ritual, where you were like, "Is it folk horror?" I think that might be like the best because this is like a local folk tale, really gone wrong. And honestly, it's a movie that's 99% just tension. Like there's not a lot going on, but I love every minute of it.
I love that movie and for the longest time believing that it was real
I
because
literally would refuse to watch it as a child because I thought it was real.
exactly. And it scared the shit out of me. And we even like my friend and I remade it. Like we had her own little camera and we
Oh, how have you never told me this before?
I thought I did tell you
I
this.
don't remember this.
Yeah.
I know you've told me you've made movies before, but I didn't know you remade the Blair Witch.
Okay, so Melissa, she was my first friend when I moved up north. I love her so much, and her family owns a farm, and at nighttime we take their camcorder and we get rocks and we put them in a pile, and then we would take like the sticks and tie them together, and then we just pretty much like reenacted the movie, and it was our friend Casey's face, and then us screaming and running, and her chasing us, and then like shots of me behind the tree, like standing there like just I wish Melissa, if you have these tapes still intact, like we need them. I need to post our movie because it's amazing. It's horrible.
I
It's
mean,
so great.
you just described how they made Blair Witch, so
I mean, ours is a little bit ridiculous, but it was just so much fun because it's fake, but it's fun to like take yourself there.
no, absolutely. I would love. I mean, if you think I would pay. I'm more likely to pay to watch your movie that you made than I am to pay to watch most of the movies that are out in theater right now.
Seriously, because these movies are not to me, they're not scary. It's like the basic generic phototype. It's just a prototype. It's just like, let's take this and we're going to change this jump scare. Like we'll change it to 5 seconds instead of 8. You know what I mean? Like it's nothing original.
Yeah, it's all just kind of cut and paste.
Exactly.
Do you have another one you have on your list? I don't know how many you want to go through here. I've got a few we can go through.
Okay, so I have another one, and it's the I can never pronounce it right. The Gogium Haunted Asylum.
I've never even heard of this one. Okay.
Well, Of course, it's a found footage.
The
Of course. I mean, why wouldn't it be? Um,
Gogium?
yes, haunted asylum. So it's like a paranormal team, but they're not really. They're like fake, and they go to places and they live stream, and they end up going to this place, and horrible shit ensues, and it's so well done, and it's
Also a recent
really,
one, 2018, it says.
yeah. It's on Tubi, and I if you want to watch something, I don't want to say mindless because it's you have to pay attention to it, but it's a fun watch, and it delivers and scares. There are subtitles, so I mean that's kind of like deal breakers for some people, but I watched this not too long ago, and I loved it.
Well, all right. And that's another foreign film as well for you.
Yes, yes.
You've got a very diverse list here.
It's weird too because I've never really divulged too much into the foreign film aspect, but like Train to Busan climbed on my list for one of my
Zombie.
all-time favorites.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Like that movie, you watched. We talked about this, right?
I've seen it a few times. I quite enjoy the movie.
Man,
I think it is a fair argument to make that it's the best zombie movie ever made. I
yes,
personally prefer Day of the Dead, but I mean it is a if someone were to say that's the best zombie movie ever made, or even that's my favorite horror movie, I wouldn't be like, you're wrong. I'd be like, no, that's a fair fucking idea. Like, it's a great fucking movie.
yes, and like I think I just broke my light. I did. The way that they casted the cast and having to like anyway, I'm not going to get back into Train to Busan, but just like foreign movies in general have been blowing my mind.
I think it helps, once you break the seal with like a big, great, gigantic movie like that. There's a lot of other shit out there that you can see that's in from other countries. If you're especially if you're sick of American cinema, if you got to grit your teeth sometimes. I don't like reading movies either, but you want to see some crazy fun movies, go see Japanese movies, French movies. Korea is killing it with movies right now.
Absolutely. And I was like, I was on that side once of like, I don't want to read subtitles. I don't, and I hated, not that I hated, but I didn't enjoy dubbed because it just felt like so weird to me to have it, some guy being like, oh, and then it's like the scene's done. Then I started watching it and I'm like, this shit, like Wreck is fucking amazing.
Yeah, Wreck is
Yeah.
good. I hate the American version. Quarantine. Yeah, I hate
I do
that.
too. It's like, and they're remaking Speak No Evil, which is a foreign film, and they're already remaking it.
Well, I mean, that doesn't surprise. They're also doing the Train to Busan, and what I mean, they're all trying to. I think once the Ring blew up in America, which, spoiler alert, I'll just throw it out there now. The Ring's on my list.
Understood.
Once the Ring, and I do like the American version better than I think this is. I think it's better than Ringu. Horror fans come for my head. But I think that once the Ring, like, that movie came out and again was like a phenomenon, made a fuck ton of money.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
it was just all bets are off. Whatever Japan is doing that's making great that was big, we're gonna do it again, because then The Grudge came out and it's been nonstop remakes since then.
Yes, yes. And Ringu, I've never seen Ringu.
So it could just be the bias of seeing the American version way many times, because I really like the first one.
Yeah.
But I remember it was a thing. I've only seen it once, but like it was a big deal. I mean, like, people were the Ring was big, and I remember like it was so big that I believe eventually when Americans figured out that it was a remake, I think Ringu even got a short theatrical run. But I know that all the video stores started carrying Ringu, and it was always right next to Ring. So it was like, if you like this, you might like this. So I remember me and my brother rented it, and we took it home and we watched it, and we were just like, holy fuck, is this like nowhere near as good? Like, and
Really?
maybe it was just our teenage brains that weren't like, ready for a foreign film, but like it was in my mind, the way I remember it, it's like a noticeable like step down.
Damn. Well, I mean, I'm curious because I love The Ring as well. But I heard a lot of people say, "Oh my god, the original is so much better." And now I see that it's on Tubi, so I'm like, I'm gonna be the judge of that.
Maybe a rewatch is in time for me as well, but I think it's just I love the American version so much. I think it's also one of those movies that will always stick with me because it doesn't scare me anymore. But as a kid, that movie scared the fuck out of me.
Terrifying. That Sixth Sense scared me. Blair Witch scared me. It was those in that kind of same era, like around the same time that they came out, type of deal. Those movies scared me too.
But that would be mine, The Ring.
I had The Ring on mine as well, and I had some more. But you know what? We're at the 2 hour mark. We can talk more paranormal at another time, or
Okay, I think that's fair enough.
I'm happy with the choices because I feel like some of these movies don't. A lot of people maybe don't know too much about them, and to kind of shed a light on it, because if you haven't heard of some of these, watch them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go watch Host tonight, so you've already won one person over. But yeah, and also maybe if you haven't watched some of these in a long time, give them a shot. Let's start spooky season off strong, Creature Crew.
Yes, we need to, and also too, like, I mean, if you have any suggestions for us, some unknowns that we don't know, throw them our way. Like,
Yeah,
leave comments and let us know, because always curious what everyone else is watching and what they prefer around this time.
absolutely. Jordana, you got anything you want to plug? Anything going on over at a Pretty Killer Podcast or anything like that?
Well, I don't usually like do too much or like have to plug anything, but I'm doing something cool for Halloween. And it is, I wanted to do a video compilation of people talking about what Halloween means to them. Not the movie, but like the holiday, memories, favorite candy, anything. If you don't celebrate it, like what candy do you like to eat? I just want to put something together and have like the horror spooky community come together, and I'm going to release that on Halloween. So if anyone has memories they want to share, send it my way.
I will for sure be sending you a clip of me eating a big bag of Reese's.
Yes. And don't say anything, just be like,
uh, other than that, I think this brings us to a close. I guess like, rate, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, help grow the show, tell your friends about us, tell your enemies about us,
please.
tell people who, tell people about Butt Boy too. Get the word out. Hashtag Feature Creatures, DTF, hashtag Butt Boy.
Well, I'm sure John's going to be leaving comments because he started that before I recorded with Roz. So I'm sure I'll get comments, and I have to send you that trailer afterwards.
Yes. Other than that, guys, I think that brings us to an end. Bye.
Night.